I wasn't angry when I saw the number. I was confused, but because that money was supposed to be gone. I'm standing in my kitchen, staring at a bench statement I was never meant to see. My mother's signature is right there at the bottom. The date matches perfectly. The amount? Enough to change my entire life at 18. For 13 years, I believed a story that the market crashed, that the money disappeared, that I just wasn't lucky, smart, or driven enough. Meanwhile, my sister moved into a 4-bedroom house with marble countertops, and I was working overtime in a studio apartment, wondering what I did wrong. That piece of paper didn't just expose a lie, it rewrote my entire childhood, and forced me to decide whether I was going to stay silent or finally take control of my own story. My name is Victoria. I'm 31 years old, and what I'm about to be told today is about to turn my entire life upside down. At the Easter dinner, my mother, Gloria, rose to her feet at the edge of the table. 25 relatives were seated around me. There was no excuse, no preparation whatsoever. She simply stood up and began to speak, in a way that made it clear she had been waiting for the moment. Victoria seems to have been born to fail, he said, laughing as he spoke. It wasn't a light, graceful laugh. It was a harsh one. Look at her. She's still renting. Her plans haven't changed. She still hasn't accomplished anything. Eleni chuckled sharply beside me. That's how our relationship always worked. While my mother would attack me in one way or another, Elena would play the strong one. Those nearby laughed, an uncomfortable kind of laugh. That moment was one of the last times I knew nothing. But I need to go back 13 years, because that's when the story really begins. 14 days before I was to leave for university, my mother sat me down in the kitchen and, in a very gentle voice, delivered the bad news. The fund market had crashed. The investment had failed. They had lost the money. It wasn't sad, not angry, just an informative tone. I cried a lot. The next morning, my mother laid the federal loan forms on the table. Sign them, she said. School needs to start. An 18-year-old girl, and I only had one option. Of course, I asked Elena why this wasn't happening to her. My older sister got married when she was 2. Even at 24, she wasn't dealing with debt like I was when she bought a house. Elena saved up money, my mother said. I believed it. I believed it for years, until Uncle Marcus told the truth during a phone call. I'm 28 years old now. I live in a studio apartment in the poorest neighborhood of Southeast Portland. It's 540 square feet. The windows rattle. The kitchen faucet leaks. My monthly salary is $68,000, and I have $400 in student loan debt. Rice and frozen vegetables every week. An old car, a 2011 model with a cracked dashboard. But I have a file on my phone. A calculation on every line. Every penny I've spent. Every dollar I've saved. A goal. The goal is a house. For myself. In a way that nobody will have any say. Uncle Marcus was trembling on the other end of the phone. Your mother didn't lose the university fund, Victoria. She withdrew the money. $42,380 at your 18th birthday party. She signed it as the owner of the bank. I didn't say anything. I was just breathing. The money went directly into a joint account with your father. 2 weeks later, Elena paid the down payment for the house. I fell off the couch. I crashed to the floor. The kitchen tiles were cold against my back. The phone was painful to my ears. I have bank statements I've kept. All of them. Tell me when you're ready. When she hung up the phone, something inside me completely stopped working. It was as if someone had turned a key and I had entered a black house with all the lights out. I didn't sleep at all that night. I had been lied to for 13 years. For 13 years, Elena's success had been fueled by my failures. My money, my years of financial success, is lying under her front door. At 2 a.m., I opened a file on my desk. An account book. 3 columns. Income, savings, goal. The goal was 7 digits long. A house on the west side. My own keys. Gloria, futile. She wins every argument. She would lie, blame Frank, and I would go crazy. She was the victim. But I wasn't going to let that happen. I would stay silent, and she would do everything she could to avoid seeing me. At 3:15, I set the alarm for 6. I went to work in the morning. Diane was the only person I trusted at work. 56 years old with silvery hair and reading glasses attached with chains. A woman who could bring down networks in 12 minutes. I never told her anything about my family. I simply asked, Diane, what does it take to own a house? He glanced over his glasses. Victoria, you've already started. Just finish being invisible. And he handed me a file. Hospital. Institutional security. The previous leader had resigned. It was a tough job, tight schedule. But if I succeeded, the company would take notice of me. 11 months, 12 hours a day. Sometimes 14, coffee and grilled chicken. 40% of my salary was automatically transferred to index funds. I lived as if that money didn't exist. The project ended after 12 months. The hospital extended the contract. Diane promoted me. $112,000, new title, new rank, new badge. The index fund had doubled in size within 2 years. I got in the car on Saturday mornings, coffee in hand. I drove through the neighborhoods. I didn't tell anyone. It wasn't that I was looking for a house. It was looking for a feeling. I finally found it. 4 bedrooms. Large veranda. Valley view. Floor-to-ceiling windows. Sunset reflects an amber color. $50,000. I reviewed it. I called my advisor. I made an offer. 3 weeks later, I signed 47 times. The key was given to me. The title deed was given to me. I got in my car and didn't say a word. I moved in January. I packed clothes and books in my car. The house was empty. My footsteps echoed. The sunlight traced rectangles on the floor. I bought a gray sofa, a bed, a maple wood table from a secondhand market. I liked the scratches. They looked like I deserved them. I painted the wall white. My arms ached. I didn't care. I invited Diane in. She stood in the entrance hall, looked at the ceiling, and gazed out the window at the valley. This is magnificent, Victoria. Does my family know? Not yet. Isn't remaining silent a form of punishment? No, I'm protecting myself. After Diane left, I took the envelope from the drawer. I pulled out the bank statement. I looked at my mother's signature. The date, the amount. $42,380. In March, Elena's daughter Lily turned 4. It was her birthday party. I brought a toy elephant, $20. Lily hugged me. That part was good. Then my mother introduced me to her book club friends. Victoria is still on loan. Her career is irregular. I'm worried. Everyone smiled. My mother smiled. I smiled too. Uncle Marcus was sitting in the garden. When he looked at me, he shook his head. Do you read the statement? He asked. Soon, I won't rush. He's not going anywhere. Gloria watched us. Her eyes narrowed. Then she turned her head and began to describe the new pergolas. Frank, stop filling his head with nonsense, he shouted. But I knew. I knew it in the deepest way I could. That night, I prepared the teapot. I baked lemon desserts. Elena was going to ring the doorbell on Saturday evening. Yes, I said to Uncle Marcus, calling him back a week later. Saturday at 2 o'clock. At home, with his own deed. With my own keys. And it would be good if you were there. Although the events of that day didn't seem like a turning point, their impact was profound. At first, no one noticed. Everything seemed to be proceeding as usual. But this flow was subtly shifting. There were small signs. They went unnoticed. Or perhaps they were ignored. As time passed, these signs multiplied. Conversations shortened. Reactions became superficial. Things that were once valued were pushed into the background. This change wasn't sudden. It was slow and silent. That's why it couldn't be stopped. However, its consequences were clearly felt. I woke up early Saturday morning. The light streaming through the windows created a silvery mist over the valley. My hands had never been so calm. For 13 years, I had been constantly doing something. Constantly rushing towards something. Today was different. Today I would prepare and wait. I started cleaning at 8 a.m. The house was already clean, since no one lived there. But my hands needed work. I vacuumed the parquet floors. I scrubbed the granite kitchen island with a cloth. I placed 2 ceramic cups side by side on the table. Simple and purposeful. Next, I baked lemon and blueberry cookies. The house filled with the sweet orange aromas. The cookies came out of the oven golden brown, slightly crooked. They weren't perfect, but I love those imperfections. I showered around 1 p.m. I put on a simple sweater. Cream-colored, soft, jeans, no heels. There wouldn't be any show. The house would speak for itself. The reality of the bank statement would speak. At 1:45, my phone vibrated. Elena. OMW, what's the address? I sent her away. Elena, wait a second. West Hills? That's a nice area. Are you renting a house there? I laughed loudly. I didn't answer. I put the phone on the kitchen counter. I filled the teapot with hot water. The kettle on the table. 2 cups, 2 napkins. I looked out the window. The firs were billowing in the gentle breeze. I heard a car horn below, then it faded away. My hands aren't trembling. For the first time in 13 years, they're completely motionless. At 2:03, I heard the sound of gravel. I stood up and straightened my sweater. Elena's SUV was parked in the driveway, the engine still running. I could see him through the windshield. He wasn't moving. He was looking at the house as if he couldn't believe what he was seeing. He turned off the engine. As he got out, he stood there with his bag in his hand, his mouth slightly ajar. I opened the front door. "Welcome. The tea is ready." The sound of her heels echoed as she climbed the stone path. She stopped in the entrance hall. She looked up. The arched ceiling. The staircase with iron railings. The view of the living room. The glass wall. The valley. She slowly turned around. Her hand went to her mouth. "Is this your place?" "Yes." "Did you buy this?" "Yes, I worked. I saved, I invested." She entered the kitchen. She touched the granite countertop. She opened and closed a cupboard. She walked towards the glass wall and looked out at the valley. "We didn't say anything for a long time." "Victoria?" Her voice grew quieter. I sat in the kitchen beside the cups. Elena was still standing there by the window. "You were renting." "I was. Not now." There was silence in the living room for a minute. Then his face contorted. It wasn't anger. It was something more complex. A confusion. A feeling of being lost. An encounter with raw reality. She took out her phone. Her fingers were trembling. "Mom," she said, holding the phone to her ears. "You need to come here right now. You have to see this." Gloria arrived in 19 minutes. On Saturday, from Lake Osgo to West Hills. When their car came to a stop on the gravel beside them, the engine was still steaming with warmth. At first, my mother stopped. She just stopped. She was trying to breathe, as if breath were a physical object that needed to be drawn out. "What is this place?" she asked, her voice high-pitched and tense. "This is my home, Mom." Gloria didn't just step through the doorway. She practically had to be pushed inside. She stood in the entrance hall and looked around. She looked at the same things as Elena, but Gloria didn't believe anything. There was only debate. "How?" she asked, her voice breaking. "You have student debt." "Huge debts." "Yes, it had that." "How did you pay for these?" "By working. Extra hours, promotion, good decisions." My mother and I sat at the kitchen table. The tea was starting to get cold. Gloria looked at the saucer, then at her cookies, then at the teapot. And then she looked as if she understood. "They didn't tell me," she said. "Nobody told me." "Did they tell you?" "Uncle Marcus said so." Gloria's face turned from pale to red. A quick flush. A swift, explosive kind of anger. But beneath it there was something deeper. The weight of a cowardly woman bearing the burden of truth. "Don't listen to that man, Victoria. Frank has been trying to break up the family for 2 years. He always has." "I saw the bank statement, Mom." I tried to keep my voice calm. Staying calm was difficult. But the outside world didn't want to stay calm. Inside me, all the anger I'd accumulated over those 13 years was boiling over. March 14th, 2013, your signature. $42,380 directly to a joint account with the father. 2 weeks later, Elena bought the house. Gloria sat down. She crossed her arms on the table like a general reading a map. But that map was her daughter's accusations. If I hadn't done this, Elena wouldn't have been able to find a suitable home. When she lost her engagement, her whole plan was at risk. I had to help her. "Was it opened in your account?" "Initially, yes, but it was originally open for me. For education. According to what you said." Gloria's jaw was clenched. Her fingers had found the edge of the table and bent it. "Don't say those things, Victoria. I don't need to say all this. Work done, work done." Am I saying something wrong? My mother didn't answer. She seemed to have lost the ability to respond. Like a puppet with an empty voice, only mouth movements remaining. The doorbell rang. Uncle Marcus stood like an icon in the doorway. Shirt, work boots, disheveled hair. In his hand, a white envelope. Flat, folded, closed. At Gloria and placed the envelope on the table among the teapot and cookies. "Hello, everyone," he said. The traffic was terrible. I apologize for being late. No one touched the envelope at first. Then I picked it up, opened it, and took out the bank statement. I laid it flat on the table. "Credit union," I said. My voice calm and sharp. "Custody account. Opened September 3rd, 2004. I was born that very year. Beneficiary, Victoria Holloway. Custodian, Gloria A. Holloway." Elena stood at the edge of the living room, listening. Her eyes were wide, her lips parted. Money was deposited every month, I continued. $50, then $100, then $200 for 14 years. The account balance reached $43 by March of your senior year of high school. I placed my finger on the table. March 14th, 2013, complete withdrawal. Authorization, Gloria A. Holloway. Signature, Gloria A. Holloway. Funds. To the joint account ending in 7741, the account I shared with my father. Elena's mouth opened. It closed, it opened again. She wasn't looking for words. She wasn't looking for personality. She was looking for an explanation, an excuse. A second option, perhaps a perspective that didn't blame herself. Mom, she said, to Gloria. Gloria's jaw had tightened into a line. She found the hem of her cardigan and was twisting it. This is ridiculous, he said. Who told you this bullshit? Frank? If Frank told you this, he's wrong. The bank might be wrong. The documentation might be incorrect. Your signature is there, said Uncle Marcus. His voice was cold and unwavering. In the credit union's records, it's fixed. No mistake. Gloria stood up. It was as if the weight of the table was pressing down on her. She walked, leaned against the wall, and tried to catch her breath. I dedicated my whole life to this family, he said. I did everything. I raised you. I fed you. I slept for you. And now you betray me? No one is betraying you, I said. I'm introducing you to the truth. Gloria turned to me. Her eyes were filled with tears. But there was no anger. Just the sadness of a mother, of being caught. I don't want this money back, I continued. I don't need it. I built this without it. But all I want from you is this. Stop lying about who I am. Stop lying to my family about who I am. Stop selling my failure as Elena's success. I picked up the teapot. I filled 2 cups. I poured one for Elena and the other in front of the empty chair. The tea is getting cold, I said. If you want to be here, you're coming as a guest, not as a narrator. Initially, everything was thought to be temporary. It was believed that the situation would resolve itself. This belief made waiting easier. But waiting didn't bring a solution. On the contrary, it deepened the problems. As time passed, options diminished. Each new day became more difficult than the last. Talking required more effort. The feeling of being misunderstood weighed heavily. This feeling increased the distance. Distance, in turn, weakened communication. No one explicitly said they were giving up, but their actions showed it. Decisions were delayed, and the outcome silently took shape. By Sunday evening, the news had spread throughout the family. Actually, it was Tuesday morning, not Sunday. Patrice texted Gloria when he called, and Gloria remained silent. Patrice told the whole family. My phone kept ringing. What did Gloria tell you? Patrice asked. Nothing was said to me, I told him. But what did you say? I hung up the phone. Dennis sent a message. Sister, why wasn't I informed? Why didn't you tell us? I haven't tried writing a reply. Cousin Michael said, I feel terrible. I apologize for everything I offered to help you with. Your pity, or because you learned you didn't need my help? Relatives began calling Gloria. Not to comfort her. To ask questions. The kind of questions she had to answer. Questions she couldn't brush off with a laugh. Gloria initially blamed Frank. He was always jealous of our family. He's trying to destroy everything I've built. But on the kitchen table in West Hills, there was the authenticity of a bank statement bearing his signature. Gets quieter each time she calls. Patrice didn't invite her to the book club. Dennis didn't ask her to organize the 4th of July barbecue. Cousin Michael removed Gloria from the family group chat. From the same chat he never added me to. My mother lost something she had possessed for years. Storytelling. For 13 years, she was the author of all the family stories. Who did what, why they failed, who deserved to be valued. Now the family was reading a story she couldn't write. And they believed it because it was true. Elena called 3 days later. I was sitting on my veranda in a chair overlooking the valley. It was afternoon, the sun shining brightly. My phone vibrated. Hello, I said. Victoria, he said. His voice was thinner than I'd ever heard it. Cracked like I'd never heard it before. I'm thinking about this extract. I'm always thinking about it. Always her. I didn't answer right away. He didn't tell me you had money. He told me he and my father were saving up. And she said, her voice trembling. I was 23 and I really wanted that house. Elena was crying. A bitter inner cry. Like a wall collapsing under pressure. Something she had held back for years, now pouring out. I asked about Nathan. Nathan told me, I treat you the way your father treats your mother. I think she deserves it. He was right. I understood. Elena, I'm really sorry, Victoria. I'm so sorry. The sound stopped. I could hear their breathing. Sounds like sobs. You don't need to take the money back, I said finally. I don't need it, but I want to know you. The real you, independent of how my mother described you. A long silence. We're in touch by the phone, but we both feel alone. Todd wanted to leave me last year, she finally said. I knew it. My mother calls every day telling me how I should raise Lily, how I should decorate the house. She told Todd that I should make his own decisions, not someone else's. I was afraid of being abandoned. I said nothing. I just listened. I realize now, my mother was only controlling me to control herself, and I wanted support, not control. Todd told me, and I let her go. Another silence. Not disturbing. A temporary silence signifying that something is changing. 2 weeks later, my mother called. I was preparing dinner. Chicken, potatoes with warm pepper sauce, green salad. I answered the phone on the 4th try. Victoria. His voice was different, calmer. His only expression was gone, heavier. A voice ashen. Hello, Mom. Nobody calls me anymore. Patrice doesn't reply to my messages. Dennis told me he needs some time alone. Elena hardly ever talks to me. Meredith, too. He started telling me things as if I were a therapist, a priest, or just nobody. A public relations consultant. An opportunity to cover up the damage. This isn't your fault, I said calmly. No, she shook her head, a pause in her voice. I wanted Meredith to have a good start. That's all. I paid for it. I didn't say anything. I didn't ask. I just did it. A long silence. I turned off the stove. The most painful part isn't the money, I said. It's the fact that you're willing to lie to me forever. And that it doesn't bother you. I heard her breathing. The breathing of someone trying to cry, trying to control themselves. I don't know how it happened, he finally said. I don't know how it started, how it became normal. One day I took your money, and the next day you were trying to take yours, and I wasn't worried at all. Because I'm not like you, Mom. The phone went silent. The story is mine. It's the story I need to control. It's the story I need to define. And I'm not going to leave it to you. My mother didn't say anything. Nothing at all. There's pride, shame, anger in this. I know, it's all yours. But there's nothing left of me in your story. Can you understand that? Yes, she said very quietly. I think I understand. Then perhaps we can have tea together someday. But my role as host will be to listen and speak. Not as a narrator, but as your mother. If you can. I can do this, he said. I want to do this. I hung up the phone. I finished dinner. I picked out some leaves. I cleaned the counter. I looked out at the valley from the balcony. The lights are going down. The firs are swaying in the darkness. There are moments that seem ordinary while they are happening. They gain meaning later. This process unfolded in that way. Looking back, the connections became clearer. But at that moment, everything was fragmented. Nobody could see the whole picture. Everyone was right from their own perspective. This made finding common ground difficult. Different expectations emerged. These expectations were never discussed. Because they weren't discussed, they grew. Over time, patience diminished. Understanding gave way to weariness. Weariness affected decisions. And the process approached a natural end. The following Saturday, the doorbell rang. I thought about it with my father. No, it was Gloria. She was holding a toolbox. I don't know if it was Richard's choice or her own. Last time I was here, I noticed one of the railings on your deck was loose, he said. Would you like to fix it? Certainly. We spoke very little that afternoon. He fixed the railing. I made coffee. I sat on deck. I watched the light change. It wasn't much. But it was there. This could be a start. Summer arrived. At the office, Diane called me to the conference room. There were 200 people in the online meeting. 3 offices were watching the screen. Diane spoke. Victoria Holloway was the backbone of this. Firm's security applications for 3 years. When I first met her, she was invisible. Now she's visible. And everyone can see it. People applauded. My hands were trembling. But this time, not from fear or anger, but from an unknown emotion. From being recognized, but from having the true reason for it. I haven't told anyone this. The following week, I invited Uncle Marcus over for dinner. The veranda, sunset, Pinot Noir wine. The meal had gone from afternoon to evening. Marcus put down his glass. Grandmother Margaret would be proud of you, Victoria. I paused. Margaret, someone opened this account for you. Not your mother. The year you were born. $50 a month from Social Security. For education, nothing else. She told Gloria. I put down my fork. My mother never told me this. She wouldn't have told you. Margaret died when you were 14, but she knew you, Victoria. She knew you very well. My mother's warm hands, the lavender soap, her words. You're stubborn, Victoria. I remember that. She said it as the best thing a person could be. At that moment, for the first time in this whole story, I cried. Not from sadness, but from feeling saved. From knowing that someone was watching me, that someone was assessing my worth, that someone was trying to protect me. Marcus handed me a napkin. He didn't say a word. Elena and I started meeting once a month. At a coffee shop, the espresso was so thick it stripped the paint off. The tables wobbled. The first few meetings were awkward. Lots of silence. Looking around. But we kept coming. Me about her therapy with Todd, about finding her own voice through Gloria's voice, about learning to make decisions about her own life, not about home decor or her social media profile. I was so preoccupied with proving that I was the successful one that I never asked myself if I was happy, she said one day. There was no answer to that. I just listened, and that was enough. A letter arrived in September. It didn't have a return address I recognized. On the page, it was handwritten. Gloria's handwriting, the same as the one at the bottom of her bank statement. Victoria, I didn't make the choices I needed to make. I'm trying to understand why. I don't know how to explain it, but I'm trying. I'm sorry. Not a big apology, just a start. Small and vague, like a crack in the wall. I read it twice. I folded it carefully. I put it in the top drawer of the desk, next to the deed and statement. 3 documents. 3 documents that define me, my choice, my life under my control. A week later, Elena invited me to Thanksgiving dinner. At her house. You don't have to come, he said. But I wish you were there. Will I have a mother? Yes. I thought about it for a day. But the answer was obvious. I will come. But in my own car. And I will leave when I'm ready. Okay, said Elena. Okay, I understand. Now I'm sitting in my living room telling you this story. The fire is dying down. My coffee on the bedside table has cooled to lukewarm. Outside, the valley is gray-green, the firs indecisive. It's swaying in the wind. Gloria measured success in square meters. Elena measured it by comparison. Richard measured it by silence, a silence mixed with error for the sake of security. And me? I measured it when I kept it to myself. I had no life. No mother, no vision. No mother in her voice. The working girl. The quiet girl. No one to see what she was building. No one to see. Gloria, hate is too heavy. I've already carried enough of it. I don't hate Elena either. She's learning on a flawed path. And learning, changing, that's important too. What I did was wait. Wait for them to see me, for them to see my pride, for them to say, we were wrong. What I did was see myself through my own eyes, in my own lines. If your family is measuring you by someone else's standards, put the ruler down. Don't break it, don't throw it away. Just put it down. Take your own ruler and don't let them bring it back. On the front door of my house, on a door I chose myself, in a house I earned my own living in, there's a bolt lock that I paid for. But the best thing isn't the house. It's not a house. I decide who gets the key. It was impossible to summarize what happened at this stage in a single sentence. Events didn't happen all at once. They took shape over time. Some moments were noticeable, while others only made sense when viewed in retrospect. Initial reactions were strong, but these reactions gradually gave way to calmer reflection. This reflection didn't mean approving or rejecting everything. It simply meant trying to accept what happened as it was. There was no need to understate or exaggerate. Every detail had an impact. Even seemingly small decisions changed the course of events. What was left unsaid left just as much of a mark as what was said. These marks didn't disappear immediately. They became even more pronounced over time. Not every story ends with a definitive conclusion. Some stop at a certain point. This story stopped right there, without a clear ending, but without losing its meaning. The lingering impact was silent, but it wasn't easily forgotten.